Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and today is a little bit of a different kind of video for me because it's about getting organized. And I'm going to show you how to take the chipboard that comes in our Creative Memories cardstock packs and use it to create little boxes to keep your scrapbooking supplies corralled and organized in your rolling cart, in your drawers, in however you have it, your desk drawers, even on top of your desk. So stay tuned to see how quick and easy it can be and how cheap to make these little custom organizing pieces for your own scrapbook organization. So as I've been working on my scrapbook room redo, one of the things I've been trying to do is get organized, and I have lots of different containers with drawers and was looking for segments, interior baskets. Couldn't find anything that fit exactly, that fit my products that I use. So I decided to make my own, and I thought this would be a good thing for me to show you how to do this because it's with products that otherwise might get thrown away, or if you're like me, I have tons of extra. And so what we're going to use for this is a piece of the chipboard that comes in all the Creative Memories cardstock packaging. I don't know if you're like me, but I've got stacks and stacks of this. Like, I've gone on Facebook crafting groups in my area and said, please, if anybody wants chipboard, come get it. I have so much of this. I get one of these for every 10 pieces of cardstock, and I use a lot of cardstock, as you know. So that's what we're going to use. You see, I already made the ones for my pens, but what I want to do is make one to corral my tape runners. And so I'm just going to show you how to do this. We are limited a little bit in what we can do with these just because of the size. There are ways to kind of extend them and make it work. But for what I want for here, I need this to be about 4.5 inches wide. And however long I can get it this way is what I'm going to do. So I want it about, 2.5 inches tall. And of course, if I'm going to use one of my little drawers, I want to know how tall these little drawers are, which for mine is 2.25. So that may be what I can do. I have a little bit of leeway in my little space. So let's say we're going to do 2.25 by 4 inches wide. So I don't usually draw this on there, but I will just for the sake of the tutorial. You do have to do a little bit of math. So I'm going to do 2.25 inches for this side. Actually, let me use my mat. Two and a quarter inches, and then I want this to be 4.5. So 4.5 means this needs to go to 6 3/4 right here. 4.5. Actually, I guess you don't need to use your mat. You could just measure with your ruler. Draw your line. And then I want another 2 and a, I'm going to do this one on my mat because I want 2.25 and 2.25 right there. All right, so like I say, I would not ordinarily draw these lines out. You don't need to draw the lines out. And then my little drawer is just shy of 8 inches. So the bottom, I think, is a little bit less because it tapers in. So I'm getting 7.25 inches. So I'm going to go with 7. And if you saw the one that I showed you that has the pens in it, I think I did go a little bit small. So there is a little bit of extra room right here, but I wanted to make sure that they were going to fit. So 7.25. Well, I want that same 2.25 on the ends, so that the sides will be the same. When I did the other ones, I just measured and scored with my scoring blade, and then I did the rest. And so this one I'm going to do 7 1/4, which is about right here. But that, yeah, that gives me, I want 7 1/4. I'm going to have to trim both sides, I guess. 7 1/4. This is a 0 centering, so that's 6, 7 1/4. Wish I could go just a little bit taller, and then I wouldn't have to trim the edges off, but we'll trim the edges off anyway. 7 1/4. Is that my pencil line? It looks wider than what I drew. All right. Oh, did I usually do it at the bottom? Where did I draw my line? I'm going to measure again. I think that might be it, but there we go. But so this one I'm going to cut away. And then this one I only want to be 2 1/4. So I'm going to just use my ruler because I can go 2 1/4 with this. All right, and then everything else we're going to do on our 12-inch trimmer. And of course, the first thing is we're going to cut these pieces to the size that we need. And it is, you can absolutely cut through this chipboard. It can be a little tricky. I like to press down hard. I always stand up when I cut through chipboard, but I mean, you can see that didn't take that long. And if I hadn't been, if I hadn't drawn the lines on here, I would have just measured, figured out the math. Okay, that didn't, that's not lining up straight. So I'm getting this is right at 9 inches. And that's also right at 9 inches. Well, let's do it this way. Then we're going to cut it at 9 inches. All right, I can see that it didn't go all the way through. So basically what you want to do is you want to take your side plus your size, I guess, plus your side. And those are the numbers that you want to come up with. So if you wanted a wider piece, you might just have to have a shallower side, or you could add to it with, an extra piece, down the line to make it a little bit taller. But that's kind of advanced box making. Then I'm going to take my scoring blade. And so for this one, I mean, I drew those lines for you, but I don't need to use those lines because I know that I want it to be 2 1/4 inches from all the sides. And I'm just going to score, and you want to kind of give a little pressure on your score just to make sure that you get that score. To make the folding easier. So this is the part you do have to do. You don't have to draw the lines, but you can score the. And then you could probably do this with your 12-inch trimmer, but for me, I found it easier just to do it with my scissors. And what I want to do is I want to cut on the long way. I'm going to cut these 2 lines on either end, just the long way. And I have done these with taller sides, depending on what I'm doing. But for this one, they happen to be the same. Well, I mean, I guess they'd always be the same height, as long as you do the same height all the way around. All right, and then we're going to fold along those score lines. I probably could have folded first. I think maybe I did when I made the last ones. Maybe I did fold on the score lines first. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and cut just a little wedge off off the small flap, so that when I fold it over, I know that it fits right. Just because we're using chipboard and chipboard is wide. I mean, I guess you could just do this with cardstock too if you didn't need it to be a, if you want it for a little gift box or something. And now we're going to use a little bit of adhesive. And I was going to use my Precision Point, but I'm almost out of glue and it's not, it's almost run out. So I have this Zig two-way glue. And if you ended up with any of the kids kits, the Creative Memories kids scrapbooking kits that came in the box, they had very similar glue, wink, wink, that says Creative Memories on it, but it's the same basic concept of just a liquid glue. You want liquid glue for something like this, and you're going to want some kind of clips, and I love these binder clips for all sorts of things. So what I wanted to do is to put the folds, well, I guess it doesn't matter. I think I like to put my folds on the outside so that the inside, which is the part that I want, just looks a little bit nicer. So we'll pop the lid off and go ahead and use a generous amount of this liquid glue. You want it to stay wet until you get it folded. And actually, since this is 4.5 and these are 2.25, I don't have to trim these. If this had been a narrower section, I might have had to trim these down, which is what I had to do for those other. And then we're just going to take it and fold it. And just try and make it straight on the edge. And I'm going to use my clips to hold this in place. A little harder because with the one side, it doesn't want to lie flat as easily. I guess I could have done the glue on all of them, but this is that two-way glue. So if it dries, it still is tacky and it's sticky, but it's not permanent. But there's something about liquid glue. You know, I love me some tape runner, but the liquid glue kind of bonds with the chipboard and keeps it all together. So really, this is all you need for your box, and you can do any size box you want. You know, up to what will fit on the 12 by 12. And then you can just leave it like this. I like to take a piece of, masking tape or something just to reinforce, just because I don't know how strong the glue is going to be long term, and I don't want it to pop open. And I do have this light blue tape. The ones that I had with my pens, I did cover them with white contact paper, but I think that was a little bit of overkill. I don't know that I care that much, so I'm just going to use some of this masking tape. And just this long, just a minute or two, the box is it's gonna hold together. But I mean, I like the blue masking tape, so it's almost a CM blue. Right there along the edge. All right, so now I can just take my tape runners, and if you're anything like me, you probably have multiples. And I can take these and slide them in my drawer. And this doesn't have to be this particular drawer. Any drawer that you have, cabinets, IKEA cabinets, or anything like that you want to put, keep things corralled in your space. I had looked on Amazon for boxes that would fit in these compartments, and I couldn't find any. I needed this to be 7.25, and I could get some that were 6 inches. I could get some that were 8.5. So this way I could just make my own and use this chipboard that I might not otherwise have a use for. So the other thing I do want to show you is, what if you want to make a box that will hold, for instance, your custom, or your border maker paper holder. And this, of course, is the same length as this, so we're going to have to make it a little bit longer. But I know that I want that 2 1/4 inch, well, I'm not even going to draw the pencil line for this time for you guys. I want the 2 1/4 inch side, because I'm going to fit it in that same height drawer. We're going to do 2 1/4 here. And then this, I just want, well, if I do 3 inches, I can fit this in there. And if I do 3 1/2 inches, then I can also put my rulers in. So that'll be nice. So I'm going to do 3 1/2. So I'm just going to take where this line is that I can see, you know, that where I did my measurement. I'm going to move that to 3 1/2. Actually, oh, barely. I think I'm going to have to measure because this is taller than, it's the whole height of my trimmer. So 3 1/2. And while I'm on here, I might as well go ahead and do my 2 1/4. 1, 2 1/4. So I have a really nice rolling toolbox that I love for my keeping my tools organized when I go to retreats and crops. It comes apart. I'll put a link to it in the description, actually. I love it because you can separate the sections, but then when you go to work from it, you know, I open the top, the middle section has 2 drawers and the bottom has a flip out. The thing I don't love about it is that the little flip out doesn't hold 12 by 12 paper, but it holds 8 1/2 by 11. And so I use that for some of my idea books and just random paperwork, some of my pictures, and that works really well. Okay, so here I've cut my piece, and then I'm going to do the, oh, I need to do this one. We need to score, sorry. We'll swap back out the scoring blade. And this one, I'm just going to do the scoring at 2 1/4. Oh, I did that side already. On 3 sides. So I did the first one already. Here's the second one. And then 2 1/4. And then I'm going to have to do this exact same thing with another piece of a chipboard. And let's pretend that I was going to use this same drawer as for my, you know, to store my border maker, which in fact I might end up doing. So I need to see how long this guy is, which is longer than my trimmer or my ruler, but luckily I've got 2 rulers. So this is right at about 15 inches because I've got a 12 plus a 3. So we'll do more like a 14 1/2 just to give us a little bit of wiggle room. But I'll take a second piece of chipboard. I'll do that same 2 1/4 score. And then I'm going to have to draw, because this covers up all the measurements on both sides of my trimmer. If it was a little bit skinnier, I wouldn't have to draw the lines. But I'm going to do the 3 1/4 or 3 1/2. And then 2 1/4. I'll do it down here too. I'm not going to use this whole piece. But all I really need is to know is this one that I need to cut off. Because once I cut this, which means I got to go back to my other blade. If I would have done the math ahead, I could have measured these and cut them once and then but what I also want to do with this one, because my inside is going to be 3 1/2 inches, I'm going to cut this one just like a 1/16 of an inch shy of 3 1/2 inches. I'll do this one also 3 1/2. because I'm going to have to make a little floor to hold my pieces together. And then this one I know is 12, like 12 and, oh, I not with that section. After I do the fold, this is that 6, 9, it's almost 10 inches. It's 1/8 of an inch shy of being 10 inches. So I'm doing 15 inches, and I'm taking away 9 7/8. But we'll just take away 10. So the next one needs to be, okay, 9 7/8. So the next piece needs to be 5 and 1/8 inches. Okay, so while I've still got my straight blade in, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one at 5 1/8. I hope that part made sense. Nope, I'm not going to cut it at 5 1/8 because I need to add my 2.5 inches to it. Ha, okay. Oh, did I say 5 1/2? I meant 5 1/8. So if I need 5 1/8, and then I need to add, actually I'm going to draw my line because I don't want to have to measure 2 1/4 from 1/8. That's just getting too mathy. Now I'll have a line that I can now measure my 2 1/4. I have never tried to do this with like making a lid, but I think you could easily just make a lid and, you know, get rid of it. So I'm going to take away, and I wrote on here just to remind myself which is the piece that I don't need to keep. All right. So now that my 2 pieces are cut, I'll put my scoring blade in there. I've scored that side. I'll score this side. All right, this is going to be a good example because this middle section is only 3 1/2. So these pieces, I'm going to have to trim those down before I can glue them. All right, so again, I've got my pieces. Now I've got 2 pieces that are going to fit my border maker. But I'm still going to cut. Oh, I mean, didn't I say it would be maybe easier if we score or fold them first on the score lines? Let's fold them first so it makes it a little easier to see. And I never know if I should fold in on the score lines or fold out on the score lines. I tend to just go within, but there's probably like a right way and a wrong way. But now that I've got this, I can kind of see my lines a little bit better. So I'm going to cut this way on these. But these are now 2 1/4 inches in each direction. And so when I go to, I'm going to again cut this a little wedge off of here just to make my folding over space easier. Actually, I think I cut too much on the upside. So when I go to glue this, these are going to overlap, and I don't want that. I don't want them to overlap. I mean, it probably doesn't matter, but if you want to trim them off, you know, you don't even have to trim both of them. Just trim one of them so that they butt up against each other. But like I say, it probably doesn't matter actually if you overlap them. This one has a nice thick overlap. Maybe we'll do one side that's overlapped and one side that's not. So we'll do the same thing. This will be a little bit easier because the other piece, I haven't glued them together yet. So use a nice and juicy liquid glue in here. I mean, you probably could even use like Elmer's glue too. This Zig glue tends to dry pretty quickly though, and I really like that. So Maybe I didn't quite cut it to where I needed to cut it. My little clips. This one I'm going to overlap. We'll see how that goes. I may regret it, but I don't think it's going to matter. All right, so now I've got these two pieces and I want this to be 15 inches. So I've got one that's 12. Oh yeah, that's right, 12 and like, actually that's more like 12 and a quarter, doesn't it? And so I need the other one to be 12 and a quarter. I want to go to 15, so 3. I'm going to go to about 2 and 3/4. It's probably a little bit more, but thankfully for everyone, this is not rocket science. Maybe I'll go to more like 7/8. All right, and then just because of the way this is, I'm going to put my my longer piece on the short side. And I don't need a whole lot of glue. Just enough to keep everything stuck down. But boy, these big fat zig things can be really juicy. I think one of the things I like about them is they don't buckle up the cardboard at all. Uh-oh. I cut the wrong width. How did I do that? Because this was the piece I needed to put in. Okay, so now I've done that. I did the wrong size. So we're just going to quick measure. We're going to call this one 5.5. It was supposed to be this piece, and I did the piece that I cut that off of. All right, so it's a little short, but it doesn't matter a whole lot. Now for this part, you could, if you wanted to, take you know, another piece of the cardboard and reinforce it. But the tape, oops, I didn't let the glue dry very well. The tape will do the same thing. Oops. Like I say, really juicy glue. This doesn't have to be structural because it's just to corral my border maker. All right, maybe I'm not very, it's a little harder on the longer piece to be straight. All right, so I've just made sure that that's just butted up right against itself. Come on. And now hopefully this glue is dry enough that I can just go around. So not the prettiest taping job I've ever done, but I'm going to go and do it again because otherwise this bottom section isn't really joined together very well. And I guess you could maybe just tape it and not have to worry about the piece on the bottom, but I think that the piece in the bottom adds some stability. And that way, if you ever wanted to take this out of your little drawers, or, you know, you could leave this on your desktop. You wouldn't have to kind of that one didn't quite go together. So now I have a place that I can put my, my rulers and all of this, and I can just stick this in my drawer. Oh, barely fits. All right, but then I could do some smaller little boxes in here if I wanted to corral other pieces. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that just since I'm here. I'll show you how to figure out when you don't exactly know, you just want to fill the space. So for this one, maybe I'll do it the math way. So I want to put a little box in here. Maybe I'll do something that I can put my little blades. All right. So my space in here is, and actually I probably need to go from the bottom right here. I think that's what messed me up last time. About 3.5. So I got about 3.5 inches this way. And this was like 15, right? So 5 inches. Let's do 3.5 by 5 inches for my little box that's going to go in this spot. Okay. So I want 3.5 plus 2.25 plus 2.25. And then I want 5 by plus 2.25 and 2.25. So this needs to be, that's 4.5 plus 3.5. I should be able to do that. 4.5, 5, 6, 7.5 is 8. So this needs to be 8 inches, sorry, by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. All right, so that's the size paper I want to start with, is 8 inches by 9.5 inches. So this doesn't matter quite as much with the chipboard, but I always like to cut the shorter piece first, because then this piece is still the full 12-inch width. That probably doesn't matter. Okay, so that was the 8 inches. Double check that right there. And then this is going to be the 9.5. And sometimes the chipboard gets a little bit dinged up. So if you have a corner that's, crumply, that's the one you probably want to cut off. Okay, so now I've done my my base piece, and I know I want 2.25. I'm just going to go around. I swapped out my blade, and we're going to just do 2.25 all the way around. Maybe this one will cover in white contact paper just to show you. That one's a little bit more of a pain, the contact paper, but it does make it look a little bit nicer. All right. I can't decide if I liked better cutting or scoring first. I kind of found it easier to cut when I hadn't folded it. So again, I'm cutting on the long side. Take just a little sliver up here. And I do think I like it better when it doesn't overlap. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We'll let it overlap because that's just faster. All right, so I'm just folding all my edges, getting out my glue. Because I'm using the chipboard, it is kind of ickying up my bottom of my little glue pen nozzle. I mean, you could probably use like that red crafty power tape or something, but this is I think the least expensive way to do it is just by using this some liquid adhesive. I hope this is going to work, you guys. Math was not my favorite subject. But I think when I did it the other way, I knew that it was 7 and change inches, 7.5 or something. So 3.5 and 3.5 should really work. Just let that sit for a minute. Oh, I was gonna do the contact paper. Okay, so the contact paper is a little bit of a, you know, step up, and it can be a little bit of a pain. And there's probably ways that I could measure this and know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put it on here. And I want to have enough that this can go over and like overlap all the way in. So I want it to be like 5 inches or more on either side. Actually, I could do it that way. About 5 inches on this side. You can see I'm very technical. And of course, you wouldn't have to use white contact paper. You could use anything you want. You could use like this fake marble contact paper that I have on my tabletop, and then all my little boxes would match. So, okay, I think our glue is holding on well enough. And then I'm going to go ahead and just take the backing paper off. Once you get the backing paper off, I feel like it's easier to use because the paper is what wants to roll back up. But then this wants to stick to itself. So, all right, and I'm just going to try and put this like in the middle. We'll stick that down, and then I'm going to fold up the side on one side and take my scissors again. I'm going to cut right along this edge, and I'm doing the long side. I don't think it matters. And fold that in and kind of crease it down there on the bottom. And this is probably a bigger piece of contact paper than I really needed. There's going to be some waste, but you could do math. Measure your size of your box and cut the pieces to fit. All right, but I am going down along that edge. And then with this one, what I want to do is I'm going to take, it is sticking to itself. I'm going to take this side and actually cut down all the way. I guess I could have done that when I cut it the first time. It's been a couple weeks since I made this the first time, so I'm going to do the same thing where we kind of go in just so that we have a little bit of a clean edge. And we're gonna have to do a very similar thing for the inside. Obviously I didn't put this on straight because I'm not ending up with a straight corner. I'm going to do that. Again, covering up my little bottom down here, the inside base. Yeah, I probably should have cut it all the way down to the bottom of the box when I was doing it. All right. Doesn't really matter too much if it sticks together. Sometimes it will kind of get a little crease in it, but it's not the end of the world. Hopefully everybody's pretty familiar with contact paper. I probably could have finished one side before I did the other, but having all these big wings of sticky adhesive gets a little, that's where the problems come in. All right, so now I've got all this in here. I'm gonna I take the little corner and snip that so that I have a nice flat, not bubbly surface on the inside. Theoretically not bubbly. Okay, and now this piece, what I want to do is I want to hide this little raw edge. So I'm just going to fold it around. Oh yeah, that almost doesn't fit. It's almost too long. In fact, I think it is a little too long. I'm going to cut off an inch or so on the sides. Folding in by itself for me. This one, I think I need to cut again a little wedge. I'm going to take that. Yeah, seeing how this one kind of went around the corner? I'll just trim that. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this as like a little wide strip because I've got this little naked piece here in the corner. So I'll just go down, fill in that little gap, and then this comes in. Oh, I've almost covered the whole bottom. So maybe this next time when we come around with the last one. All right, that one also a little too long. I could have maybe cut my starting piece a little bit smaller. And again, it kind of went around the corner right here. So I'll just cut a little strip. Go in there. And contact paper is nice because it's forgiving. So if you get it down and it's not quite right, you can just peel it back up. All right, so now I've covered up all the little brown spots on the inside. I just got to do my last piece, my last side. Actually, I'm going to take just a smidge off that little edge right there. And all right. So there you go. There I've got my little box. It's all pretty. It's covered in contact paper. If you wanted to, you could cut a piece that's just the right size for this and just put that piece in to cover up all those little patched pieces, but nobody cares. Once your tools are in there, it doesn't matter. And so then I can take my little tools. Oh, if I put my blade back covered on like I'm supposed to, you know, whatever you want to put in your little box. And then it will fit right here in my drawer. All right, so I hope that this was helpful for you. This is it's kind of a necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing. I'd never really thought about using all this chipboard to organize my supplies, but I think this is working really well for me. And like I say, whatever kind of drawer you have, you just need to know your measurements, and then you can just figure out, you know, if you need to patch pieces or anything like that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to trim this piece down because I think that's where it got a little too long because I messed up on my measuring. But you know, whatever your dimensions are of the space that you need to have an organizer for, I mean, this cost me next to nothing. I mean, the contact paper I did have to pay for, but you know, the glue I already had, the chipboard, I got lots of that. And look how much nicer this is than when I used to have all of my pens. I don't know if you ever saw, but I used to have all of my pens in one just big mess, and I'd have to rummage through all of them. Now I've got my jewel tips, my dot tips, and my other pens organized and oh so pretty. So if this was helpful, I would love for you to give me a like, a comment. Of course, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I always appreciate having new subscribers. And I'll be back sometime soon with another layout, a scrapbooking tip, or who knows, maybe even an album flip through one of these days. So thanks so much for watching and happy scrapbooking.